Welcome to the National Soccer Coaches Association of America Winter Webinar Series. My name is David Newberry and I'm the coordinator of the NSCAA's Club Standards Project, an initiative designed to raise the performance of players and coaches one club at a time. Since May 2012, we have had over 625 clubs join our project, representing approximately 405,000 players and 35,000 coaches. The NSCAA is delighted to have Rick Granryd, the NSCAA Club Standards Project Consultant and Director of Operations with Austin Aztecs, to present today's topic, which is getting the most out of volunteer recreation coaches. Rick has accumulated over 30 years of experience at the youth, collegiate, and professional levels. As a goalkeeper, he was named to the high school all-time great players of Illinois State Tournament, appeared in 2 Division I national tournaments with the University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee, and won a league championship with the Detroit Express as a professional. Rick has had a varied coaching career, which made him an excellent candidate for a consultancy role with the NSCAA's Club Standards Project. He has coached with the University of Akron, Missouri Valley College, Chico State, and Southwestern University. He has been the State Director of Coaching for South Texas Youth Soccer Association and was the Director of Coaching for several youth clubs. Rick has been an Executive Director for 2 youth organizations and Managing Director for the Minnesota Thunder Professional Club, and is presently the Director of Operations for Austin Aztecs. Welcome, Rick, to the presentation.
Thank you, David, and welcome everyone. Pardon my little bit of a raspy voice and all that kind of stuff. I got the crud here a little bit, so hopefully everyone will hear me okay. First of all, the foundation of my presentation today is to recognize and more importantly demonstrate that your coaches are the most important technical soccer feature of your program. Sure, players, teams, fields, schedules, all those kind of things are certainly vital. But if the players don't come back, then that's no good. So today, I hope to provide you with some ideas to demonstrate your club's acknowledgement of the importance of your volunteer coaching staff and how to get the most out of them. One clarification: finding volunteer coaches is a whole other webinar. Maybe it's even a book. I don't know. I'm happy to briefly share my thoughts on that offline or in our question and answer follow-up or on LinkedIn. Excuse me. Or maybe you can lobby David to have me or someone else do another webinar on that one. The players and families' first and often lasting impression of the sport and your club is the team's coach, not the league president, not the director of coaching or the commissioner of coaches. It's really that person that they interact with several times a week. And I believe much care should be taken in the preparation of those team coaches. In so doing, they will feel supported by the club, and you will have them engaged. I'm sure you've heard of coaches being given a team and then left to kind of fend for themselves, and we want to avoid that scenario at all costs. Further, I'm certain you've also had challenging seasons as a club with facility or weather or scheduling, referee, team formation issues, all those kind of things. But a solid team coach can manage any and all of those things and make the season a success for his or her team and players. Your volunteer coaches then actually represent your members' experience in your club. Great fields, great uniforms, a great organization, that's all super. But a great experience with the team coach often trumps everything. Again, just to acknowledge who these folks are, generally your volunteer coaches have little knowledge of the game. They have limited playing background, and they've been convinced in some way to coach. Now, having done about 30 years of coaching courses all over the country, I've definitely seen an uptick in volunteer rec coaches who at least played through high school and off and beyond. I really think a playing background is key. Not that a lack of playing experience necessarily makes for a poor coach, but it sure helps to having played the game. We've now kind of established how vital the volunteer coach is to our recreational program. The focus of my presentation now shifts to how we want to make the most out of the coaches we do have. On this slide, I emphasize staff. This is the fundamental means for me to get engagement of the coaches and retention. Staff implies a group. So, hey, I'm not alone as a coach. Staff implies that there's a head coach or a director, and I will receive some sort of guidance. Staff also implies that there's responsibility, that I have specific expectations. So, hey, they're serious about this stuff. If coaches are recruited to be part of the staff from the very get-go, as opposed to, hey, that phone call that says, hey, you know, we need you to coach, your child's team won't make, you will reduce the trepidation that they come in with. You'll increase their confidence in the program. And most important, you're going to increase the chances of retaining that coach. I talked earlier about how the coaches are the first impression of the club and the league to the families. The preseason preparation, I think, is vital. And I believe the preseason staff meeting is the first impression of the club or the league to the coaches. So if you can do this well as an organization, it sets a great tone for the rest of the season. I try and make this preseason coaching staff meeting, you know, a one-stop shop for the coaches if I can. In so doing, you create a hook to encourage attendance. I've made it a priority to have uniforms ready and organized into teams. You know, I put the coaches' names on there, all that kind of stuff, in time for my staff meeting. If the league can swing an adult-sized uniform or maybe a club T-shirt for the coach to put in there, that's real cool too. If I have any printed materials from the club, from the state, from the NSCAA, whatever, I'll have all of those on hand as well. If you can swing food and beverages at this meeting, that's fantastic. In one organization I work for, we held our meeting at a local restaurant. While coaches paid for their food and their drinks and everything, but they could eat, you know, before, during, and after the meeting. And so that was cool. It's an important, but it is important in this meeting for the staff leader to preside over the meeting. He or she can have others present some stuff, but the leader needs to be there and be active in the proceedings. Ideally, the leader, that person, presents some information as well. So once again, you're trying to engage the staff. You're trying to gain their trust and develop at least some sort of degree of affinity for yourself. Continuing on some preseason stuff, you want to reference or present the training curriculum if it exists. If it does not exist, then that should be a priority for the club, certainly. Often the actual training curriculum content is generally a separate staff training, but you should at least reference it in your preseason meeting if it exists. If it's possible to schedule training sites and times, man, do it. If the coaching staff doesn't have to scrounge around town for places for their teams to train, that's great. Most of you probably need to identify random locations for training anyways. Over time, you know where those places are. See if you can lock down their availability and schedule teams there, preferably by similar age groups, so that way there's some scrimmage opportunities there. I've tried very hard to have playing schedules completed by this meeting also. If you can give the coaches their uniforms and their schedules together before the season starts, you will never see a happier group of people in America at that moment. That is fantastic if you can do that. Only a few occasions have I had the opportunity to include a field clinic in this event, and those were fantastic. I like to select one technical theme, for example, dribbling, and present that theme in age-specific progressions to demonstrate how the activities change from one group to the next. And I try to engage all the age group coaches in each of the age progressions by asking them to look for possible modifications for the activity that will make it appropriate for their age group. Again, in the preseason preparation, in addition to the possible field clinic at the staff meeting, I schedule various age-appropriate license courses in that preseason window. So for your fall season, it's typically August, maybe summertime through before Labor Day, and in the spring, maybe January and February. I always schedule the youth modules, the state and regional diploma courses, anything like that about twice a year during those time frames. And again, the more predictable you can be on the delivery of these from year to year, the more confident, the more engaged, and ultimately, more educated your staff is going to be. That's kind of my preseason stuff, and if you have any kind of questions or anything like that, I'd love to hear from you, and we can discuss at the end or on the Q&A on LinkedIn. Continuing education. Again, many select and competitive level teams, programs, feature coaching staff continuing education activities throughout the season. For me, having been in several organizations with both rec and select, I've simply included the recreational coaching sessions in that schedule. So I try to schedule hour-long sessions midweek, during training time, a few times per season, and on different nights, so we don't conflict with our training days. I send out via email an activity of the week messages each week of the season. So I would send these out to all the rec age groups. They can then be archived on your website. The activity of the week, in this case, is not a whole session, but it's a specific activity to be included in a training session. Offering age group pool sessions have proved very popular in my experience. I sprinkle a few of those in each season. The idea is to offer technical training sessions to players in an age group with a special invitation of those age group coaches to come in and assist and observe. That way I kind of get player and coach training all in one shot. More continuing education ideas are on this slide. You could post full sessions if you wanted to. You can put them on the website or send via an email. I've offered to be the guest trainer for rec teams. I publicize the offer, and then coaches reply back to me with their training times and days and locations. I then connect back with them for a day that works for me. If your club has select level teams, I like to encourage rec coaches to observe those sessions. Also observe those games, and I realize that could be a bit of a slippery slope, and you guys probably know what I'm talking about there, but still, I want them to get a feel for the entire club. Any questions on the continuing education stuff? That's kind of important too, and someone out there may have some other ideas that you can share with the group as well. As you can see, I favor creating a team of coaches, a coaching team who works U4 through U19. And you think the coaches of the, say, under 12s have a vested interest in the quality of training and game expectations of the under 8s? Sure they are. Now, do all these activities that I've suggested generate, 50, 75 coaches each session? No, I'm afraid. I've done quite a few of those events or courses or sessions for 1 or 2 coaches, and I'm always disappointed when that happens, but I know that I've offered the opportunity. Everyone knows I've offered the opportunity, and I know I can get good attendance at many of the events. Observe recreational games and the coaches. This, far and away, has always been the most informative, gratifying, and seemingly popular activity I've ever done or what I do at the rec level. What I do is I get the master schedule of the weekend's games, and create an observation plan each weekend. I have several tasks which I take notes on. Number one, I observe the level of play at the various age groups. Technical level, tactical level, sportsmanship, all that kind of stuff. It doesn't matter from U5 through U19. That's kind of what I'm looking at. I observe coaching behaviors. I observe spectator behaviors. I observe the referees, and naturally, I observe the players. So I have a lot of stuff that I'm looking at every single weekend day. I wear my club gear. I'm in visible areas of the park, and I'm there consistently. Everyone comes to expect me to be out there watching. And it doesn't always have to be just the director, or it doesn't always have to only be the director. The observations can be done with other available staff or board members as feasible. Then, based on the observations, I will share those general observations like in a club message the following week. And again, I try to continue to engage everyone and letting them know kind of, hey, this is what I see on the weekend. Also during that weekend, I personally connect with players, coaches, and referees throughout the day. If I've seen a great game, for sure, I will go up to the coaches and players right there and say so. If I see things which need correcting, for example, that constant issue of defenders, to push up right, with the rest of the play, I'll meet with the coach after the game and discuss it. As you can imagine, after a few weeks of this, they realize they are part of the staff. The coaches are important in player development, and we as an organization are helping them be a better coach. So I try and create that DOC type relationship with as many coaches as I can. I also track players who I see, no matter the age group, and I put them into a spreadsheet. I'll connect with the coaches and I'll let them know. I say, man, I really like Johnny, coach, how does he do in practice, whatever it is. Again, the more interest you take in their teams and their players, the more the coaches feel part of the team, and ultimately more engaged those coaches can be in your program. I don't know, does anyone else, if you're a DOC out there, does anybody else do that kind of stuff, or am I a lone ranger on this? I ask really because each place I've been, they are so surprised that I do this. So hopefully I'm not the only one. Communication. Well, communication, you can't have too much for sure. Just about every job I've had, that was part of the job description. So it comes pretty clear, pretty easily to me, but perhaps it must not come so easy to others, or else it wouldn't be a topic on all those job descriptions. Staff development. In any organization, staff development is critical to improving the quality of instruction and increasing the retention of players and coaches, and ultimately, positively affecting player development. That's why the coaching staff is there. I like to involve rec coaches in all phases of the program as feasible and appropriate. You're going to identify coaches who become particularly engaged and more talented. I try to develop that by offering opportunities to assist with other training that we may have going on when I identify those coaches. Naturally, as the coaches move up with their kids through the age groups, many will stop coaching, of course, but you will find several who enjoy it and are actually pretty good. I have no problem at all with inviting them to be an assistant coach in their child's team if they're continuing up to the select or the academy level. And also, I should say, on several occasions, I've actually hired former recreational coaches to be team coaches on the select level teams. And that, everybody, and probably the DOCs out there, that is the best feeling in the world when you've taken a, quote, mom and dad coach from the rec and actually developed them, and they've developed them into to be a competitive coach. That is really, really awesome for us. Well, the season eventually ends for the players, and I try and extend it a little bit more for the coaches, and I do that by way of assessment. And one thing I do is, or I would suggest that you do as well, is create or find a self-assessment tool. Again, I'll send this out to the staff. It could be via email. It could be at a staff meeting. It could be a function, whatever it is. I don't ask for it back, but in that communication, I encourage them to send me any questions or comments that they have about any of the items in the assessment or about anything that they've experienced during the season. I have not formally assessed the recreational coaching staff. The competitive, select staff, absolutely. The rec staff, number one, I think there's probably too many. Number two, some I'll get to know well, some I won't, so it's not real fair. Three, I'm not sure if it's the right thing to do anyways. I believe the right thing to do in this case is do whatever you can to support whatever they're doing, and that's the main thing. However, I do monitor team formation, and I don't know about anyone out there, but I always have worked within a core system, so people can return to the same team and all of that. So I will know how many returning players those rec coaches have to their teams, and how many players and families request to be on those particular coaches' teams, over time. So that's probably the ultimate in-house assessment that I can make for our recreational coaches, and the best coaches, as we know, are the ones who continually keep the players playing. Well, this slide kind of comes under the nice to do if you can category. Obviously, it's always good to acknowledge the coach's time and efforts with the players if you can. I know absolutely for sure that coaches' gifts and so on are generally not in many of the club's budgets. But luckily, at the rec level and most of the time at the competitive levels too, the coaches are acknowledged by their teams with some sort of post-recognition gift or something like that. Guys, finally, just kind of as a summary of what I've been chatting with you about today, basically understand how important the coaches are to your rec program. Treat them as a staff and simply take the time and interest in helping them develop the players of tomorrow. A final thought, I realize some of you may not have the bandwidth in your situations to do some of the things I've said today. If that's the case, I would recommend a few ways to accomplish this stuff. Number one, if it's appropriate, submit a proposal to your board to fund someone's time to do some of these things. I can tell you it will pay for itself with increased membership and retention of players. If funding is not an option, create an internship of some sort for a local college student, hopefully maybe graduate students who have played the game and have some experience there. Also, try and engage local coaches, high school, college, professional coaches to come in and at least periodically and hopefully consistently and predictably to perform some of these things. It is generally in their best interests for the local recreational organizations to do well, so they will probably want to help you. Folks, thank you very much for allowing me to be part of your evening tonight. And once again, I welcome any questions and will respond to any questions or comments you may have. Thank you.